with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Ebanks, talk today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Good afternoon and welcome, and thank you for joining us here on this magnificent Monday as we invite you to be a part of today's talk discussion here on Talk Today. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Hoping to have the good company of Miss Cayman join us for a bit, Miss Caitlin Tyson. Let's see how that works out, man, because excited to see her brilliance and hopefully engage you. 949-8037, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And let's get things off to a good start. Why don't you call and share your thoughts with us? Tell us about your weekend. Tell us about your week ahead. You know what? You may say last year was great. This year will even be better. You may say last year was, wow, not one you want to repeat. So what are your plans? Always believe, as we had a discussion the other day about reflection and introspection on our monthly mental health matters, it's important. And I'm reminded on a daily basis, not only to give thanks, but to reflect, to ponder, but also to be prepared to take action in order to move things forward in a positive, profound way. You making, a lasting, meaningful mark on society as you do your best to improve not just your own lot, but the lot of others around you. I think it's important to be realistic, but you need to be positive. A pessimistic person is probably not the kind of person you want to be, but sometimes you're so, overwhelmed. You're so, sometimes beat down that you feel, I don't know, can I rise above this? Well, of course you can. You have the resilience and the resolve. You've seen much. You've been through a lot, and you're still kicking and ticking. So let's move on and make it better. 949-8037, 949-8037. Toll free with the compliments of Flow at 1-800-534-8255. Or you want to WhatsApp? Well, 925-3261. Either way, use it. Share it with us as you so choose. I had a guy share with me a little while ago. He was saying that he was looking at a couple of people in his life, and he says, some of them are very, very positive, no matter what it is. They always seem to be able to say, well, it could be worse. They're always looking at the bright side of things. And then he says there's one or two that, no matter how good it is, it's always this level of negativity. And he thought, why is that? And sometimes it's because of experiences. Sometimes it's because they almost expect something to go wrong. Was it the Murphy's Law? If you expect something to go wrong, they probably will. And he says, is this a case of a self-fulfilling prophecy? You act in a certain way, believe in certain things, and of course, it comes about not any different than if investors are very confident about a particular stock and they take actions, the stock price might increase. If they are not so sure about it, then they might potentially start to sell, start to act in a particular way that in effect brings about that declining stock price. Well, he says, obviously it takes in many instances a lot of players like that to be in the play in order for it to come about. But it's not the same on your own individual level. If your outlook is always a negative one, then is everything that you look at you're always looking at with a sense of distrust, maybe even contempt and disdain. Now, there are many that no matter what it is, they're always looking through these, these rose-colored glasses. Everything looks so much better. Well, which end of the equation are you? Are you more realistic and looking at things analytically, enjoying the moment, but always a little mistrustful, a little bit dubious and skeptical about certain things? Or you just take it as it comes? 8949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. A toll-free call if you want to make it, or if not, call us on 949-8037 or WhatsApp 925-3261. On Friday after the show, got a quick chance to talk to someone as they were sort of, as they say now, between planes. So they come in for a couple of days over the weekend and head back out early in the morning. And these are the people who, maybe because of their expertise and experience, maybe just because of, some would say, well, their good fortune in life. Others would say, man, they got a lot on, but they're never really in one place at any length of time. And for some, Cayman is sort of that way, a layover, as it were. And he was sharing that as he comes in and sort of regroups, and then he gets ready to head back out, he was wondering to what extent this year is going to be the same as last year. Is it going to be any better? And what, if any, will somewhat sort of affect it? Now, he wasn't only talking about Cayman and Caymanians or events unfolding within the country, but perhaps just more generally speaking, globally, and how that would affect us. Now, he says that for those who are very, very consciously aware, because they, on a daily basis, are engaged in the financial services sector, that the things that are happening, the calls for European countries, for instance, to ensure that our financial sector, is compliant with sort of their demands, it makes it hard. Not only is the goalposts keep changing, but the playing field sometimes is being moved. You think you're kicking the ball in one stadium, he says, and then in the other, you're not only in a different stadium, but you're in a different time zone. And he says, where is this country going to exert some level of influence and independence? Now, he knows that's a word that, some of us, whenever he visits, like to engage in, because it doesn't only mean political independence, but he's talking about the opportunity for the country to sort of determine that it's not just going to roll over and take it as it is. But unfortunately, he says, because of seemingly, the lack of financial planning, as it were, to position the country with a sense of, backing, we're not always in that position to call the shots. We always have to be, responding to things. We always have to sort of wait and see, because we have, on our own and to our own detriment, tied our hands. And yes, he says it's easy. We can point fingers at the politicians, and chances are they're probably as to blame. But then what about those who are pulling the strings, those who are giving them not only ill-timed, but perhaps ill-advised counsel? And he shares, where is this concerted effort for the mentality of a Cayman Inc.? And I think, as we reflect on that whole discussion, I think I wanted to be able to quickly welcome to our studio the reigning Miss Cayman and have a chance to chat, because I sit out thinking of this next discussion, and to see a young lady who is not just only graceful and eloquent, very intelligent, and could prove to be an excellent ambassador for this country. So I'll ask Ms. Susan to let us just take an earlier break. We'll pause as we welcome the reigning Miss Cayman, Miss Caitlin Tyson, to our studio. Chance to chat with her. You can call and, of course, with me, share your excitement, but also listen and learn and love a little. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
This Health Flash is brought to you by Cleveland Clinic, Florida. Over 65 million people around the world have moderate or severe COPD, a family of diseases that includes emphysema and chronic bronchitis. Cleveland Clinic, Florida offers a wide range of management and treatment options for COPD, including programs focused on education, medication, smoking cessation, and pulmonary rehabilitation. A team of experts is ready to review your symptoms and test results to develop a comprehensive treatment plan. For more information, visit clevelandclinicflorida.org.
It's the CMEA's 11th Annual Music Festival Weekend, coming January 25th to 28th, Heroes Day Weekend. 5 events over 4 days. Friday the 25th, catch the DJ Showcase.
Cayman Cabana,
Soul Karama,
Carib Cafe,
Reggae Revolution, Silverside's Dance Party.
Saturday the 26th, see the Young Musicians Showcase at 1 p.m. at the Hockwell Theater, followed by the Hero Salute at 7 p.m. at the Havana Club. Sunday the 27th, don't miss the Music Awards ceremony at the Hockwell Theater. And on Monday, Heroes Day, the live music showcase will merge with the Heroes Day ceremony in Georgetown for an evening of live local music. For more detailed information or tickets for the 11th Annual Music Festival, call 928-7665 or visit the Cayman Music and Entertainment Association on Facebook. Music Festival Weekend, 4 days, 5 events. Don't miss the celebration of Cayman's top musical talent.
We are Radio Cayman, and this is how we wake you up in the morning. Praise time. Praise time on Radio Cayman.
Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I'm gonna walk them golden stairs, 'cause I know my Jesus answers all my prayers.
Praise time.
Weekday mornings from 6 until 6:30.
Praise time.
There's nothing to go back to. Give me Jesus in the morning. For the God of the mountain is still God in the
Praise time.
Shout with joy to God, all the earth sing glory to His name.
Praise time. Praise time.
Jesus in the morning, yeah.
Weekday mornings from 6 until 6:30.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And, you plan your week and you get to Friday and you go, man, that was a great week. And when you can plan it and before you get to Friday, your Monday is already perfect. You just know, you can just call it the day. And it is excellent because in the company of two, if I may say, wonderful young ladies, got a good Miss Catherine Tyson with the reading. And I'll let her brag about, being somebody's mama, and Miss Caitlin Tyson, the reading Miss Cayman Islands Universe. Good afternoon, Miss Caitlin.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. Glad to be back.
Thank you.
Miss Catherine, you guide me as a parent. We're proud of our children. Right? No ifs, ands, and buts about it. I'm honored that, for example, my parents, they see someone else's child, running the race at sports day and they're excited. I'm like, it's not your child, but you're as excited. The child gets the A in the exam, gets accepted, gets a job. Mm-hmm. That excitement that you have as a parent, another parent's child is achieving. You see the hard work. They graduated from college. They're moving on into life. And, that's me, man. As the example of my parents, I see it in you, Miss Catherine, and now that I can sit next to, I don't want to say my daughter. I'm going to get my little niece. Are you okay?
Yeah. That's fine.
I feel like this is a victory for us, and I think it's like similar to when we, as a football fan, you watch your team playing, and maybe the qualifying like we did in the early 90s in the Shell Cup, or it maybe just the Inter-Island Sports Day, and you see your old alma mater at the primary school winning. If we celebrate together and enjoy the success together, then the sky's the limit, right?
I think that's amazing. I love that you said you got that from your parents because that is the culture that I'm used to in the Cayman Islands, that we as a community, we root for one another, we cheer for each other, we're very supportive because we come from that it takes a village.
Yeah.
And I love that idea.
Yeah. I think what you were saying, Dwayne, was so fitting because they're our children. They're all of our children.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say that about, being a mother, what I get to present to society. So I'm so proud of what I got to present to society. And I'm so proud of Caitlin because, she's taken the reins now and she's able to represent all that was kind of poured into her from me, from the community, from her genes, from history, from our ancestors, and so it's a little bit of everything. And so she gets to, stand on her own 2 feet and just be amazing. And I think that she's ours. She's not just mine. She's for everybody.
But that's why I asked your permission. I think it's important. You and I'm so grateful when you were able to find time to come in and not only sit with me, but sit for me, right, in a sense. But we speak to our youth through the adult present, the coach, the teacher, the parent, not because we don't value them, but because we respect them. You should not, in many instances, speak to that way, right? But then when we see someone else's child, we grew up saying, oh, well, I'm Mary. They weren't your physical, biological relative, but out of respect, you establish, a level of love and appreciation.
And that connection.
Right? So your success is my success.
It's a success for all of us. Yeah, and
definitely.
What I love the most about being over there in Thailand is that they're not calling me by my name ever. It was Cayman Islands, Cayman Islands, Cayman Islands, and you start to feel like you feel that responsibility. You feel that you are the representative for your country.
Wow.
It's a huge honor, and you're looking at 93 other girls, and you're calling them all by their country as well. So right now, I only know one person from Ghana, and it's Miss Ghana. It's Agbeni. She's Ghana for me, the whole country, and what an amazing representative, So just what I represented over there, I'm very proud of. I know that people came away with a really great representation of what the Cayman Islands is. I tried to embody that Cayman kindness that we have for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to be that shining light in the morning that said good morning to everyone, who never stuck my nose up at anybody, who was accommodating if someone needed a bobby pin, if someone needed, hairspray. I had everything, a Band-Aid. I had everything, So I tried to pass on what I love about my culture while I was over there representing Cayman.
Yeah, tell them about the bag. She had her bag with everything, safe to pin, you name it. It was like
cup,
a little
a napkin,
old,
a fork,
a little old Caymanian woman bag. Like, I got it.
Even for mint as well, eh?
I have mints, I had vitamin C, I had Neosporin, I had everything I needed.
So people were like, just ask Cayman.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always over prepared.
Yeah. But it's not who we are. I mean,
that is.
It's. I think I'm not going to pretend that I know you better than I do by any means, but just vicariously knowing you through, who you are, right? Who you're for.
Who you're for.
And that idea we are these ambassadors.
Yeah.
Our children that go off to university, they serve the same way. And what I'm going to ask you, and if you would guide me, a couple of things. Obviously, excited to learn about, sort of the whole pageant back in December in Thailand, right?
Yes.
I got to travel. I left. I didn't have to leave my living room. My eyes were glued to the screen, but that's a different story.
Yeah, to see it.
Right? But I get to travel with you. Maybe a year ahead, some of the things, but not to be negative, because I think there's a part of this that we are, even as positive a person as I am, sometimes we don't want to speak to it. There's a sentiment that is taking root in our society where we're not as positive and as nurturing, as encouraging as we can be, as we used to be, as we should be.
Definitely.
Should be. And I'm hoping that through our discussion, our parents particularly will start to realize that we're the ones, our children are doing
as they see.
As they see.
Not as they're told, as they see.
Yeah. And anyway.
Walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
And I'm glad that you brought that up, because I like to embody the Cayman that I know, that I grew up with. And I can speak on, now I'm Miss Cayman Islands Universe, but before, when I was a Caymanian artist just coming out of school, I did not feel so supported. I know a lot of my fellow local artists feel the same way. A lot of Caymanian entrepreneurs feel the same way, that we just don't come out to support each other in the way that we used to. And I don't know what that is. And while I was away, I had to speak on how many international fans I had, because they were really there for me, from Mexico, from Peru, from Thailand, rooting for me. And I'm like, aren't you supposed to be rooting for Thailand? You know, so I had so many people that were really keeping me going. And I want to thank the people from my community in Cayman that were active on my Facebook and Instagram pages. You don't know how much of a difference that really makes. I could say maybe about 60 people overall that really, every time there was a post, every time there was something, they were commenting, and it lifted me up. But when I felt the community the most excited to talk about anything that I was doing, it was about something negative. It was about something negative. And, of course, that had to be sent to me, because I don't find joy or excitement in speaking negatively about anybody. Anyone who's met me, anyone who has heard me speak or knows me, know that I'm all about uplifting one another. It's not for show. I'm about spreading positivity. I want to shine. I want your light to shine bright so that we blind everybody. Yeah. You know, it's not just about me. So that really, it disappointed me in a way, because it's not the part of Cayman that I like to focus on. But now I'm just thinking, like you say, it's the parents, it's the teachers. What culture are we nurturing right now? Is it a culture now of bullying? I'm not sure, because that's almost what it feels like, the direction that we're going in. And life is all about choices. So very easily in the next few years, we can have this culture that people will pull out a phone to record someone suffering rather than helping them. And that'll be the norm. And that is not the Cayman that I know. And we have to be very careful about how we write the narrative for ourselves going forward.
Wow. You know, Caitlin inspired me a few years ago. Like right now, I'm inspired by her every day. Like it's amazing, really. It is absolutely amazing that almost like the tables have turned a little bit, and I'm so inspired by her. I'm inspired by her attitude every day. She gets up and she just moves, and she's positive, and she's full of love and life, and I just love that. And, you know, to know that I've been some part of it is great. But just to see her, you know, a few years ago when she was in New York, you know, studying in her acting, she put on Facebook, I'm in a one-woman race. I just want to be better than I was yesterday. And I was like, wow. Like, that was just so profound for me. And I thought, this is amazing. Because it's true. When you start, you know, focusing on the best that you can be, and you're not worried about, you know, what another person is doing, or you're not comparing yourself. And I think a lot of times what happens is we tend to think that if someone else is shining, that we're not. Yeah. There's enough room, and I've said this for years, there's enough room for every one of us to shine. And so it just makes the light brighter. So I think that's where we need to be looking at. And today is, you know, the beginning of one of the beginning weeks in January of 2019. How about, you know, starting to think about that, and how can we uplift each other, and how can we celebrate each other, and, you know, just be better together.
Because what made me feel, you know, it was sad, but it was kind of made me feel connected to the other girls, because a lot of girls were dealing with exactly the same thing that I was going through. This immense love for your country, but not feeling the support that you know, it's like they don't understand what we're doing over here. We're not here boasting about ourselves. It's all about our country. We're talking about our national dishes and our national songs and all of this. So you want to feel that connection with back home. You want to feel that support. So, I mean, I have the tools to deal with that kind of thing. I'm very confident. I'm very forthright. I understand what I want to do. You know, no one can tear me down except for me. So I am okay with that. But for somebody else who's dealing with it on a smaller scale, who doesn't have the tools to deal with that kind of thing, what could happen in that situation? And we've seen the effects that, you know, spreading negativity online or it's face-to-face, what that can do to someone's self-esteem going forward in life. So
we talk about the Christian heritage in the society. Yeah. If you, for whatever reason, want to dismiss it, I would say don't. But, you know, let your light so shine, as you shared. And that thing that you bring to the table, what is that? You know, that you're going to. Is it something that is going to make people say, "Oh, I don't want to be around him"? Oh, goodness! Right. Because there are those people. I was just, you know, speaking just before you came in. Fella comes in, you know. Puts his head down for a night or two, and then he heads back up. This is his routine now because of the demands on his schedule, as it were. It came on as that layover. You get a minute to recharge.
Yeah.
We take for granted the beach. I don't know if anybody went to the beach yesterday. It was probably a little bit rough in some spots. Water was probably cold compared to what we would like it. And these are people who probably, winter in Minnesota, but our water is cold. But it's something about recharging, and we take it for granted. We don't see how important it is. I share that to say that maybe in the early days, a few centuries ago, the ships passing by, whether you want to call it pirates or privateers, there was a layover, a way station, they got a reprovision, as it were. We have so much, but are we embracing, valuing, acknowledging, not even so much monetizing? When Miss Caitlin takes the world stage, are we rallying behind you?
Right.
I know.
And I don't know, I think that if you ask anyone, like our local sports teams or anybody, I think it's going to be the same answer, that we don't rally behind one another. And I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm a one-woman cheerleading band for anybody. I will lift anyone up. I will swell everyone's head. I don't believe that someone can be too confident. I think that is a beautiful thing. Exactly. So I just want to be very careful going forward. I want people to understand that the things that you say and do online really do make a difference. And what culture are we nurturing in Cayman? Is it a supportive culture? Is it one where we lift each other up? If you open a shop, I will come to see what you are selling, and I want to put money in the pocket of a Caymanian. Right. I want to uplift everyone here. It's my people. I have such a heart for my people. So I don't know where it got lost in translation. Is it because of all the material things that we have now, because we've been so blessed? Are we taking things for granted? Are we passing by the crystal clear waters every day and we don't even see it anymore? Are we working in a job that is not fulfilling us, and so we're kind of just in this cycle? What is happening? Like, we need to start talking about these things because life goes very fast.
And why are we not seeing ourselves in you? Why are we not seeing ourselves in that person? Yeah. Because one thing I can remember during this whole time that you were in Thailand, from the time you left until I got there to my baby, I was on the internet, and I was just like, I'm not trolling. I was just like obsessing, like every single thing. Like, I saw stuff that she didn't see. I'm showing her things now. Day one,
like,
day two.
Oh, I saw you with your yellow robe. I'm like, wait, where did you see that? That wasn't.
Yeah, and because I'm her mom, I was able to kind of feel everything. Like, I saw her facial expression, and I was like, she doesn't look too happy. Like, well, that smile's not a real one. Like, I knew something was happening. I feel like it's so easy for us to judge and say, and say a negative thing or find something negative about something, as opposed to understanding that, how tough that is. She's making that look easy, but she's there for 93 women. It's 94 women, and all of them were standing with their countries on their shoulder, and fighting every day, and fighting in a good way, and representing every day. And I think that that's one thing that we can take just as a country alone, and realize that every single person is doing their best every day. And if we support each other, and if we rally around each other, and we uplift each other, and go and purchase something from that Caymanian store, or that person that can sew clothes or can bake cakes or whatever, that's what we should be doing, instead of being negative.
But that's a nation building exercise, right? And the fellow who referenced earlier, you get a chance when talking to people. I don't want to say like that, because people might misconstrue what I'm saying, or it may sound not as respectful. But someone who has traveled, someone who has lived and worked many places, has a certain skill set, you get a chance to gain so much so quickly, especially if you develop a genuine friendship. There's a trust, and you get to see things through a lens that maybe you won't appreciate always, right? And I think that's what makes Cayman so unique and so blessed. Yeah. But at the same time, we're so apt to take it for granted, right? Yeah. As I said, I was just wondering, when we look at two things, this whole notion of almost social engineering to an extent. Now, I confess, this came from some others, but from him as well, over the years. And he's saying, who are you promoting within your society? Not just in the jobs, not just with scholarships and education, sport and opportunities, but the things that you're celebrating. And if you're not careful, one day when you look at your public sort of profile, is that going to be representative of you?
Who you are.
Right? Now, he didn't say this today only, or 20 years ago. And looking now, was that wisdom? Was he some prophet? Be careful with that word as well. But that is what is happening. And when someone like you, Miss Caitlin, stands before us, are we helping you to shoulder the burdens of the world? Are we helping you to be the ambassador? Are we helping you? Now, can I say the second thing that he sort of reminded me of, again, as I was just dropping into the airport. This was the other day when he was in for his little rest over. I'll put it in a thought process that I had, right? Because I don't think I can repeat it the way he had. Cayman Inc., for instance, the messaging that we are sending to the world as a country. Okay, there's a concerted effort relative to our financial sector. Probably long overdue, maybe some good steps. But when our sports teams, for instance, or any organization that leaves Cayman to go to represent Cayman, who's going? What resources have we given them to sort of, send the Cayman hospitality? What messaging are they taking? Is it a consistent one? Not propaganda, as it were, but the clothing you wear, the way you're expected to present yourself. Just like the school is going on a field trip, are all the students neatly attired and in uniform? Are you expected to behave in a certain way? Not because you're robots, but because there's a level of decorum expected. Little things like that are so significant. Yeah. And we're missing them every day. We're missing it.
Yeah. And it's like you were talking about Christianity and us being a Christian community. Whenever I hear, because I love to listen to stories by our elders, I love to listen to what Cayman used to be. And one of the things that stand out the most is how seriously they took religion and being God-fearing people and passed that on to you guys in your generation.
The older folks, huh? That's what you're saying?
No, yes, I mean...
Definitely.
And it's not a negative thing. It's a very positive... It's very positive, but I don't know where it got lost. Because it did. It did get lost a bit, where we still are Christian, but we don't embody what that means. And I mean, I see it all the time. You'll see someone... who is a Christian, but they'll be cutting someone off on the road, and it's like, that's not the thing to do.
I'm glad you shared that, right? And as you speak to,
but they'll be in church on Sunday.
They're probably just coming from church or going to church, right? And we're not saying this to you because it probably was us as well.
Exactly.
Right? And for those who are listening,
this is not to point the finger.
No. We're looking in the mirror.
Yes, right? Exactly.
We're speaking to Miss Caitlin Tyson. The phone lines are open if you want to call and so on. I have a good friend. We just had a couple of minutes together earlier, and you just said something that reminded me of something that he says, and I just said, our people, probably because of maybe the demands, probably because of the expectations in our lives, probably because of all that's happening, we're a bit lost and confused. We're so busy, maybe trying to make more, maybe trying to survive, whatever the word is, that we're losing focus. So that day of rest that we went to church or that we went visiting, can I say visiting? Yeah.
Go for it.
We no longer do that because we don't have time. We don't value the importance, right?
Yeah.
And we get into this argument, well, should we go to church Saturday, Sunday, or Wednesday? Well, maybe every day. I don't know. You pick the day. But are you reverent and respectful when you go?
Yeah.
And then there are some, maybe people, some cultures in our society that, without question, on that day, whether it's a Wednesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Saturday, Friday night, doesn't matter the day or the time of day, they're going and they'll say to you, listen, I can catch you after if you want, but between this time and this time on this particular day, that's set aside.
Yeah, and
we don't.
And for me, I don't understand. This to me is a question that I want to pose, and it's something that I've been working through the last 2 years. Is, do I recognize God in myself, and do I recognize God in everyone else that I meet? And that comes from my yoga practice as well, which, contrary to what people may think, it is not a religion. But the thing is that in the Bible, Jesus can show up as anyone, as a normal person off the street. Are you treating them the way you would treat Jesus if he showed up at your door? Do you treat yourself in that way? Because we're made in his image. That means that he is inside of us and he's inside every other person. So do you live your life in that way?
So true.
And it's a hard way to live because it's much easier to snap at everyone or to be negative. And the thing about it is whatever you choose to do, the human brain is programmed to make a pattern. That's how we survive. That's how we know don't jump into the street because you'll get hit by a car. We create patterns. So if you're creating a cycle of being negative, you're creating a cycle of feeling helpless. Oh, I can't do anything about it. I'm powerless. That's going to be what you're now
and you learn
addicted
that early.
to.
You learn that early.
What pattern are you creating for yourself too? Yeah.
You know, I make no apology for it. You can decide how you look at the whole idea of religion and Christianity being one, or you can decide how you respond to. But as you shared, what the scripture talks about, be careful entertaining strangers because angels may dwell among them, something along those lines, right? It's great that we do well for, in many instances, you probably used to. Perhaps some would say that's why we're taking advantage of people who come in, we extend hospitality. Yeah. But why is it that we can't extend that same hospitality to that person? Is it because that person's grandmother's aunt dog bit somebody's cat that chased up the tree to knock
so
over
where does forgiveness come in? Because that's one of the biggest lessons that you learn is that to be forgiving.
Yeah.
I mean, all of us want to be forgiven when that day comes.
Well, you'll forgive me.
Do you practice forgiveness?
I wasn't paying attention, Miss Susan. She said, "Why are you talking? You over the break? We have a break." I'm sorry, Miss Susan. I'll take license and latitude. This is a great conversation, not only because her intellect and her eloquence, but I think what you're saying is so insightful, and hopefully as people start to recognize it's important that we put that thing which is important first. When we come back, we'll continue discussing. You're welcome to stay out till 1:30. In fact, you know what? I can leave and you can just... Phone lines are open if you want to give us a shout. Stay tuned, please, for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
RC Fusion, featuring Billboard pop hit songs and more from the 70s to the 90s.
RC Fusion.
Weekdays from 10 a.m. till 12. RC Fusion.
Brought to you by Country and Western. No mess, no fuss. Just the best in Caymanian cuisine at a price you can afford.
Country and Western now offering delivery. Call 945-4079. RC Fusion.
RC Fusion.
Hi, I'm Colin Lumsden, the Georgetown manager and head of the Revitalization Initiative. Our capital city is the heart of business activities in the Cayman Islands, and we would like to bring it back as a center of social activities, with streetside cafes, green spaces, improved roads, and proper walkways for interconnectivity. The new cruise and cargo port is part of the plan and will allow for operators to meet passengers dockside with less lines and overcrowding. Cargo operations will be less intrusive. There will be pedestrianized areas for people to safely walk, shop, and dine. Modernizing the cruise and cargo port is a key element in the efforts to revitalizing our capital city.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Okay, and we're back. Dwayne left the building.
That was our plan. Sorry, Miss Susan. No, I thank you for playing along, and that is, I think, what makes us who we are. That jovialness that we have, right? Now, I sit in this job, and I hopefully people don't see that I'm one self-promoting or two disrespectful to the position and so on, right? I certainly have my opinions, and I certainly believe very passionately that this is the best country. But you should do that too if you're living here, as you should if you were living wherever you were living, and work towards making it the very best, right? Not just best financially, but best socially, and you have safety, security, stability, and all those things. Now, if I'm walking my dog, for argument's sake, is the dog leashed? Is it muzzled? I don't care if it's a little teacup little thing or if it's a 50,000 pound, big old dog that I can ride. Am I in control of this dog? Do I have a little blue bag picking up after the dog? Little things that are legislated for, probably even here too, not enforced, but that's a different point. It needs to be enforced by us, not by some police enforcement authority.
Exactly.
Right?
And it has the love that we have for our country needs to come from
Yes,
inside. You need to feel it when you're about to throw that trash on the beach. That no, I'm not going to do that to my beach. I'm not going to do that to my country because it is ours,
It's my backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah, like self-governing almost. I think it was so funny because a few years back, I think somebody had come to my house or something, and they opened like a piece of gum and they just threw it on the ground.
Through the packaging?
And I was like, so who's going to pick that up? And I was like, who's going to pick that? Because that means I'm going to have to pick that up. And I think like even things like that we can govern ourselves on, this is my property. I'm going to keep it clean. I'm not going to throw stuff down on this property because I'm going to have to be the person deal with it. We need to think globally. We need to think about that as a country because this is our country. This is our earth. Yeah. And so the more that we take care of it, take care of ourselves.
Good stewards.
So.
Right?
Yeah.
Good stewards.
Absolutely.
And the sad thing is that many of us either believe or allow others to make us believe that just like how you, I think, rightfully should have responded, well, you dropped it, are you going to pick it up?
Pick that up.
You uncivilized people, that's what happens here. Well, I'm reminded of a story. Right? Fella in Canada recognizes one day that repeatedly there's this dropping from either a big dog or a small horse, and it just appears. So it must have finally, he discovered the source and the origin, and collects it and returns it. Just walks behind the owner and say, "Oh, I believe you forgot this." Now this is in Canada. That is a very, advanced society.
I'd like to see that happen in Cayman. How people would respond to that, but you're right.
But listen, you don't do that.
It's accountability.
Accountability.
And I lived in New York to study. So they literally, I was just talking about this the other day with my boyfriend. They literally have to put up signs that say, if you see something, do something. Because everyone is all about their own business. You could see someone planting a bomb. And you would be like, that's his business. Right. I'm going to work.
Yeah. Or somebody getting hurt on the train.
Yeah, I mean, I got punched on the train.
Yeah. Wow.
I did get punched on the train during winter by some guy. I don't know what was going on with him. And I looked up at everyone, and they all had the same face on that I was like, no, I don't want to be a part of that right now. It's you today, and that I said, this would never happen in my good country, in my good island. Like that's what got me through those days in New York. It's like, I'm not staying here because I hated that kind of thing where you see something happening to someone, you don't stand up and defend them. You don't stand up for people's rights.
But something, Ms. Gitley, you said earlier that began to concern me, and we see it globally, and I believe, sadly, we've seen it here. You talked about there's an incident happening, and all of a sudden, everybody standing around with their phones, some device, and they're videoing this thing for whatever reason, right? But nobody's putting the phone down and saying, let me see if I can help.
Or even using that same phone to call the authorities, using that same phone to Google, how can I help this person that's going through this thing, just to record.
We're just recording. I'm thinking, when have we become this
desensitized?
What are we, voyeurs now? Is that what we are? Are we just looking in? And I'm not joking. It's serious. No. Are we looking in from the outside, thinking we have a right to do that, but not feel like we have a responsibility for something else? So I have a right to look at your stuff and maybe even publicize it or whatever, but I don't feel the right of being a citizen of this earth to be my brother's keeper. Yeah. I think to take care of, be a good steward or whatever.
It's a disregard for human life. Well, and I don't know when that started. I don't know if it's because we kind of have connected with the screens a little bit more. So we almost believe that a human being is a 2D image on our phone. It's not real. But that's not real. And that's why I mean, I'm a lot different than a lot of people my age as well. And I mean, I experienced a huge loss when I was very young. I lost my father at 12 years old. So I think that really, you had to grow up and realize that, you can't take things for granted and the world isn't all rainbows and all that, you know. I had to find joy in other places. And so I don't take for granted another person's life. I don't take for granted the words that I say to somebody. I don't want to ever push somebody over an edge where they might hurt themselves or others. But there are a lot of people that I say are sleepwalking through life, that are bulldozing through life. You don't care what you leave, the wreckage behind you. And I mean, that's a lot of people. That's probably maybe 80% of people. So I'm not judging, because in any moment you can get into that cycle as I talk about, because you have to be actively making a choice every day to change up certain things about yourself that aren't positive, you know? And so I just think that's really, really important. But for me, social media is not real. It's not real. There is a filter on everything you see, in the same way that the media, I got really, really into Photoshop when I was 14 years old, and my mother was so concerned. She thought I didn't love myself. You know, she was like, you know, this isn't real. You know, you don't have to make every lash perfect, every tooth perfect, you know. But it gave me the insight into, wow, these magazines, nothing is real in the magazines.
Right.
Nothing's real on TV. So I can love myself the way I am naturally.
Yeah.
So I understand that if social media, if everything's shut down today, all those happy birthdays that you sent, all of those likes that you gave, where are they now? Have you spoken to this person? Have you showed up at their door when they needed you? Have you given them a hand when they needed help? That's what's real.
Yeah.
Right.
When did you get Facebook? Say that. I want you to
18 years old. I got my first Facebook account.
She's very bothered. She wanted it a lot earlier, and I was like,
then as soon as I got it, I got bored.
Yep. That's a sign of insight and intellect. We're going to take our news break. When we come back, share with us. I'm learning, I'm motivated and encouraged. Hopefully people are not only being introspective, but they're also starting to say, you know what, there are things I can do. But also share with us, you know, a little bit more about the trip as we do something that is sorely lacking. That's a meaningful dialogue. So let's have some conversation when we come back. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
The Premier and Minister for Financial Services meet with several European Union offices to talk about taxation and transparency. This morning's agenda was packed, and meetings continued this afternoon in London as the Honourable Alden McLaughlin and the Honourable Tara Rivers meet with representatives from the EU's Directorate General for Taxation and Customs Union and the Code of Conduct Group. The trip is designed to give European and American partners an opportunity to speak with top Cayman officials directly and discuss the strengths and transparency of Cayman's financial services industry. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. Theresa May has warned opponents of her Brexit deal that they risk letting the British people down, as Labour said the Prime Minister faced a humiliating defeat in Tuesday's crunch vote. She urged critics to give the deal a second look, insisting new assurances on the Irish border had legal force. She said the history books would judge if PMs delivered on Brexit while safeguarding the economy and security. And the mayor of the Polish city of Gdańsk has died in hospital a day after being stabbed at a charity event. Paweł Adamowicz, 53, was attacked on stage in front of hundreds of people on Sunday. He was taken to hospital for stab injuries and underwent 5 hours of surgery at a local hospital. A 27-year-old with a criminal record has been arrested over the attack. Police believe he used a media pass to gain access to the stage. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Healthcare Pharmacy, caring about your health for the past 25 years. Radio Cayman's premier health show.
Alzheimer's and dementia, are they the same disorder?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
Is heard on Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. and on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Brought to you by Healthcare Pharmacy in Grand Harbor, where they care about your health. Transfer and refill your prescription online. Visit healthcarepharmacy.ky or call 947-8900. Healthcare Pharmacy, now with a new and second location in Governor's Square. The new Healthcare Pharmacy in Governor's Square is open Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Healthcare Pharmacy, where they care about your health.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers. Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks for joining us. And I say this publicly and sincerely. I'm really enjoying not just the conversation today, but the fact that we're starting to position our people, and hopefully we'll continue to do more. Not just give them opportunity, but support them so that success isn't just monetarily, but they feel a sense of conviction and confidence and a sense of responsibility as well. But really, they'd be supportive. Speaking to the arena Miss Cayman Islands University, Miss Caitlin Tyson, and if I may say, our young wonderful mother, Miss Catherine, joins us. I only share that because studies would probably, many of us would probably quickly point to them. The parents who are actively involved, continually and consistent with the lives of their children, the child has not only, better success, but more sustained success. So you're taking your child to practice, whether it's sports or, some instrument, but you're engaged. You're not just dropping the child off and picking it up.
You have to put the work in.
Yeah.
What the results you expect to get out are based on the work that you put in. And it doesn't mean that, that some parents who have done everything, quote unquote, that they could do, that something doesn't happen and their child ends up going in the wrong direction. It's not to say that. I think what I always said about being somebody's mama, it was a huge deal for me because I really ended up with 3, on my own at one time. So it was like I didn't have okay, I got one little cute little one that could just, it was like these 3, like 2 boys that were mashing up everything, and like the minute that we entered a room, everyone knew we were there, because my daughter was mashing up stuff too because she had to keep up with her brother, so she was like beating them down with her dolls.
There you go, girl.
Yeah, she was like, I'm going to be heard, I'm going to be seen, and I just think that, it's a big job, and you have to put in the work, and I'm like a Nazi when it comes to that. I had to know who your friends were, whose house. I'd be in and out of people's house while they were going up. People couldn't stand me. Like I got into a lot of discussions with parents when when one of my children was in their house and I didn't like what I thought might have been happening, or there wasn't a helper there, and their teenage daughter was there too, and my teenage daughter was like, no, get him out of there, get him, Well, I'm not fussy like that. Well, I am. So. Yeah. I'm saying, we have to take responsibility for whatever we're charged with. And it's the same thing that we were just talking about, being responsible for our country, for the results, for whatever results that we want. We have to put that work in. And I know I've had complaints over the years of people saying, oh, she talked about her children too much. Yeah, you bet. She should talk about her children less. Well, listen, I want you to talk about yours as much as I talk about mine. And I try to, scale back a little bit because I don't want it to be about bragging. It's about, really the investment that you put in. And I think that if we looked at it from a country standpoint and we all put in what we want to get out and take responsibility for our results.
Yeah. But the thing is, right, if I may, we will, perhaps more now than ever, be able to quickly talk about something else in some other part of the world, maybe some sports personality, and know all about them, from the very first day. But we will quickly say, Scripture talks about train up a child the way he should go. But are we doing that? Are we being able to reach across and know that this is this person's child? this is the situation, right? Not just the negative that we're going to talk about and run down, but how do we reach and not a hap up,
Yeah, and take responsibility for everybody, because we were talking earlier about, and I think Caitlin had mentioned something like that. We come, Dwayne, you and I, we come from a community where, a village raised a child. Yeah. Like, before you got home, somebody would have told your mother about what you or your sisters had done or whatever. And so they felt like they could say, Dwayne, Sterling, come here. You're not supposed to be doing that. Same with me on Walker's Road. Rosita, get over here. And my grandmother would hear about it. We've come so far from that. But I think even in your, limited, because you're young, right? But even in your,
she reminds you,
right? limited kind of community upbringing, you still kind of felt that. People knew who you were in school. People would not let you get away with certain things because at Cayman Academy they were like, no.
Like, I know your mother wouldn't want you to be
exactly, and that's accountability, like you were saying.
If we look at a couple of things, right? I keep looking at Cayman and I keep saying that it's a great place. As great as this, it can be better, but we really appreciate it. And when we have friends who are from outside who come to live here, you get a chance to appreciate it even more.
Yeah.
We know some cultures, they may have one, maybe two children. They invest heavily because they'll tell you, well, they came from wherever. And it's not only the places that we may think as former communist countries or third world or what have you. These are some, very, very prosperous countries, but they understand the importance of investment in the child's education, in the child's well-being, in the child's development. And then that child becomes successful. One day the child wins a Pulitzer, a Nobel Peace Prize, is the CEO of whatever, right? And yet in our own land, when our people are having a level of success, who she think she is?
Yeah.
No, why?
Yeah, not who you think you are, who you know you are.
Yeah. But if I might, I'm hopeful that something that you shared, Ms. Caitlin, earlier, that as a people, recognizing that it's the entrepreneur, it's the person who is playing a sport, it's the artist. As a people, we're not as supportive as we should be, right? I don't mean tell them, oh, you're doing good, your hair is cool when it isn't. We're going to show them right, and we're going to help them. Now, hopefully, as we look at someone like you, there's been some very wonderful sort of predecessors from, the 50s and 60s on to today. And hopefully each time we're raising the bar.
That's right.
But, man, you imagine the first person to beat a path. They probably had to get a machine and chop it out to make it. But that last person has come. Maybe it's the 1,000th person. Yeah. Maybe that path is nice to worn now, right?
Yeah.
And we need to do that so that each person makes it better.
And to honor the people who came before who walked so that we could run.
That's it.
But if we're holding ourselves back, or we're trying to grab at someone's ankles to say, where you think you're going? We're never going to get there.
That's right.
Yeah, man, if your hands are on my ankles, hope it's because you're trying to get to the bottom of my feet to push me up, not to pull me down.
Exactly.
That's how I look at it.
Your hands on your ankles, probably not trying to push you up. Make sure your hand on the bottom of it.
Yeah, so you're trying to get to the bottom of my feet.
And there are a lot of people you see, like successful people, celebrities and things, that once they made it out of their country or made out of their city, they never go back. Never go back. They will have initiatives and they'll have charities all over that they support, and they will never go back home because of what they felt from their community, of how they were torn down in their own community. And that's a very scary thought, because there are a lot of talented people in Cayman. There are a lot of people who have the drive and the raw talent, because we don't have many resources yet available to nurture these gifts that a lot of people have been born with. But they are going to make it. And are they going to come back home? Are they going to put into our economy, into our community? Because for one, I have so many plans for my reign for this year. Yes. I have plans for after, before the crown I had plans, and after the crown I'm still going to have plans, and I want to be able to do those things in Cayman. But I'm only human as well. And that's why I think we need to be very, very careful on how we're treating people in our community, because it could turn out that every Caymanian that gets a little something leaves and doesn't come back. Yeah.
Well, if we look
that would be a scary day in Cayman.
There was not long ago within the history within the West Indies, I'd put it like that, where they were fearful of the brain drain that we talk about now. Maybe not enough. But as you shared, Ms. Caitlin, within the Cayman context, we have our students, and you look at it specifically through that lens, as it were, who are saying, I'm going to get this education overseas somewhere because, one, I'm not feeling valued and appreciated. Two, being discouraged, openly condemned, and criticized. You have, and I don't say this to be disparaging against education, general or educators particularly, but when you have a student saying that repeatedly, a teacher has said, oh, you don't need to get a college education, not because it's a costly or because there's opportunity, but because, and all these other things that follow that are demeaning, demoralizing, derogatory, you're thinking, but how can a person like that have such unfettered and continued access to a young mind?
Yeah. Right. I mean, I even want to just speak on my personal experience. I had many teachers that did not believe in me. A lot of teachers that I went up to because I valued my education because I came from a single mother family where education was everything, the beginning of everything, the end of everything. Like, you need to be educated. So I would go up to my teacher and say, I'm not understanding this. I don't know if I should maybe take an extra class or whatever. Like, no, you'll be fine. And they allow me to just sleep in the class every day and fail.
Some of these stories she didn't tell me because I'd have been down in people's school.
But at the time, I was glad for the nap. But now, looking back, I'm like, that should not have been happening. No. But you see, you have to tell the difference between someone who is feeling discouraged because of what's happening at home, someone who is just not understanding what's going on. But if you have a child that values their education, you should nurture that within a child. And I've seen a lot of people who have gone abroad to study, and the first thing they want to do is come back home and work. They want to use the new skills that they got, and they want to come back and help our society. And then what do? They come back, they can't find a job, or within their job, they're being blocked every time they have a new idea, every time they want to share something that they've learned from somewhere else. No, we can't do it that way, or it doesn't get done. You know, I don't understand what is the resistance that we're having to growth as a people.
But as I listen to you, and I'm just thinking,
$1 million question, really.
Yeah.
When we look at our society, and I think this is where maybe some of us recognize that having someone like you and a platform that would allow, we can raise the bar in so many ways. We can get a chance to talk about things, and I'm not being hesitant out of fear of speaking maybe impolitely or otherwise, but the notion that are we prepared as a people to look within, right, and harness the energy and the talent, but also to do the reading. I said to a friend the other day that it was not something I enjoyed. I still don't like it. It was a chore. It was necessary. I understood the importance of it. I'm glad I didn't have to do it that often. But sometimes the yard needed to, because mama wanted to plant some cassava, you got to go pull the bush, right? But it was a reminder that if you wanted something, you had to work hard. So 2 weekends ago, I decided to pull out a couple of weeds. Man, listen to me. I could have probably went 50 rounds with Mike Tyson, then Muhammad Ali, and wouldn't feel as bad as 5 minutes pulling the weeds, right?
You wonder.
You wonder, right? And I'm thinking that we don't see the potential, or maybe we do, and we're just not, embracing it.
That's what you said about introspection and looking within and trying to rid yourself of even generational curses that I say, patterns that repeat themselves in your own family line. That's a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work, different habits that you've picked up, different mechanisms to survive in your everyday life. Oh, you've been burned by this situation time and time again. Now you're hardened. Now you won't let anything hit you in the same way again. You won't feel that deeply again. But it's also blocking you from experiencing a lot of joy and a lot of great things too. So the work is very difficult, and I always want to pay homage. I always want to speak on the people who came before me, because there's a reason why I'm able to think like this at a young age. There's a reason why I'm able to speak like this and be able to try to unpack a lot of stuff within my own psyche from a young age, because I can see how many people are so amazingly talented and intelligent and all these things, but it's gone to waste because of all of these unnecessary things, these burdens that you carry with you. So looking inside and talking to yourself, I think is one of the most important things to do, but it's one of the most difficult things to do. And it's not like overnight. It's not even a month. It's not even 6 months. It is like an ongoing practice every day. I mean, I used to think I had severe anger issues when I was younger. I used to, maybe it was just, puberty.
and being the baby too, knocking your brothers out with your dolls and stuff.
But in hindsight, now I'm looking at it, and what was that anger? I had all this anger. I was always, every little thing would just bother me that it wasn't my way. And I was like, because I expect the world to go the way I want it to go. I expect everyone to treat me the way I treat them, or treat the way I think you should treat somebody. But that's not how the world is. Everyone's an individual. So the more you go through life in that way, the more suffering you're going to go through, because you can't expect that someone's going to treat you the way that you would treat them. If you're going to treat someone kindly, do that because that's the way you treat people, not for something in return, because then it's not genuine. It's for something in return. So, I mean, that's just one example of something that I identify with myself, and I'm constantly identifying different things. But I know a lot of people, I've met a lot of people in Cayman and abroad, that they have an idea, they have information in their head that has been there for years, and no matter how much new information you throw at them, how many facts, they will not change what they believe.
Right.
Why? Because is that an ego thing that I believe this and I'm going to stand on it and I'm going to fight it to the death, even if it's wrong? For me, I invite new information. Right. What I believe is what I believe today. If you give me something that changes my mind, thank you for telling me that. Okay, let me think about that more. Let me, I think that's a part of growth. That's a part of, not just getting older, but getting wiser.
And why not choose kindness? Like you were just saying, you choose to treat people kind because of whatever, but everybody's making a choice. And so I think this is what we're talking about in terms of bullying or grabbing that negative thing and beating the negative drum as opposed to seeing the positive. Why not choose kindness? Why not choose to treat someone how you'd want to be treated? Why not put yourself in someone else's spot? Because I think that's what happens. You use the word desensitized, Dwayne. Yeah, exactly. Why are we so desensitized that we're not realizing that's another person? And how do we make this place a better place? And what's our individual responsibility? Because we have to have individual responsibility before we can look at collective responsibility, because all of us are individuals. And what you just said, Caitlin, was amazing. How do you start working on you? How do you look within yourself? Because it is difficult, but it's so necessary.
We have a caller join us. We have the reading, Ms. Cayman Islands Universe, Ms. Caitlin Tyson, and perhaps her chaperone, and advocate, protector, provider, nurturer, counselor, her mama. Let's go to our phones. Good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. It's Rupert Ackerman. I just wanted to add a little
yes, sir.
To the command there. I'm so proud of these kids when they're speaking out about things that are happening here in Cayman that I've and others have, been talking with for some years now. And I think the governments of the day, whenever that was, they never saw some of the things that young people see today that are happening to us, because they focused on and I keep repeating this, that love, but no, I don't know if it's called love, but they focus on the money they make from things like work permits and all that kind of thing. Back in 2010, I was talking to someone about it and about a job they had applied for down at one of the hotels or something. It was a night audit or something. And after he left me, I started thinking to myself, oh my God, we built this island. Caymanians built this island. And then all of a sudden, we see what's happening here with our people. I mean, all you got to do is go into any grocery store, any public place today, and you look around and you see how many Caymanians you see there. I was up till yesterday, I made that comment to somebody about, you don't see Caymanians anymore. Because the kids, when they can't get jobs here, they go away. I got a son that's living up in Tampa. But in 2010, after this experience, and it brought tears to my eyes when I heard what the kid was telling me, I went and I wrote a poem. And I don't know, I guess God was giving me instructions what to write. Because I just went and wrote it, and it's got about 8 verses in it. But I want to read that for everybody. It takes about 2 minutes to do it. But imagine now this is a young man that has gone into an office where this ad was in the paper, and he is talking to the guy who's interviewing him. And this guy happens to be a Caymanian, by the way. The poem goes like this. This is the young man is going. Good morning, sir, the young man said. I came right over when I read the ad for young Caymanians, right, for an auditor to work at night. Accounting, sir, is my forte. May I present my resume? I know there are others who will apply with more experience than I, but to get my foot inside the door is all I ask and nothing more. Because if I do, you're bound to see how smart it was to hire me. I'll do my job and prove to you Caymanians are hard workers too. A superb record I can see, you really earned your PhD. Your academics are the best. You mastered every single test. But no, young man, please bear with me. And certainly you must agree. The job you have applied for, son, is just an entry-level one. And it would be a crying shame for you to lose your self-esteem by taking such a job as this, because greater things you're bound to miss. But in this firm, sir, I recall there are no Caymanians here at all. And you, sir, are Caymanian too. So please do what you should do. Time's up, young man. That'll be all. There are others waiting in the hall. Please, sir, once more the young man played. How can I hope to get ahead if folks like you don't lead the way and teach us how this game to play? This game of chance in our land, here in our land, that most of us don't understand. I'm sorry, son, was his reply. I wish you luck on your next try. And as he's leaving from full of bloom, an expat walked into the room. It just isn't fair, the young man thought, as from his eye a tear he fought. My God, he said, it's 2010. No light I see down at the end of this long road that we call life for me, my kids, and loving wife. It hurt him so, he went to hide inside the men's room where he cried. And then he thought how hard that he had worked to earn his PhD. Some months had passed, and at a party, a familiar face there drinking hearty, who was someone that he thought he knew, who was bragging to his friends and crew about a condo that he's eyeing, and with his boss's help, he'd soon be buying. With a loan from bankers that he met, and his Caymanian board had helped him get. So, oh, bless us, Lord, we hope and pray that someday soon we all can say that the good ship Cayman we all knew sails once again with the Cayman crew. That is something that I wrote back in 2010, and every time I read it, I think about these people like that young man that had talked to me and told me how the man had offered him a job.
Mm-hmm.
He's got his degree in accounting, and he offered him a job as a bellhop or a bellman. And this is what's happening in Cayman today.
Wow.
Well, I'll tell you what, if we could invite you to maybe do a public recording of that, probably, because it's captured. Hey, thank you, sir. Hopefully we get a chance to continue. I know, Miss Caitlin, we do have other calls, but I know that you have a lot of other things on as well. And one quick call.
Yeah, I would love to.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for sharing.
Good afternoon to you, Sterling Ray, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Very lovely. distinguished, wonderful ladies there.
Yes, sir.
And mother and daughter there together. It's wonderful to hear them and hear their experiences. Miss Cayman, congrats to her. We're very proud of her.
Thank you.
And I'm going all over the world representing Cayman. Yes, my good friend, Mr. Ackerman, is the Foxwood Poem. I think I'd heard him read it out once before. I could be wrong, but I thought so. And it's wonderful, yes. It really is. Fits the bill. You know, I often tell people about it, but try and read it. 2 paragraphs written by Mr. Ian Fleming, the man who wrote the James Bond book. And he lived in Jamaica. He loved Jamaica. And he came over here. April will be 62 years. And he wrote those 2 paragraphs. It came out in the April London Sunday Times. It describes Cayman then, our economy. And the other paragraph tells what we would become. Staunch, cheerful, Caymanian, the nicest feature of these islands, would be little changed by all the progress of tourism, mosquitoes being sprayed, until the modern pirates arrive. That's what he said. 62 years ago.
Wow.
And he was spot on with the first paragraph under that one. Until we would be little changed until the modern pirates arrive. Yes, we have changed what we did when he was here into another type of economy. Yes, what we have to understand is that there are, 130 nationalities living here? So to try to define and pinpoint and save our generational Caymanian culture is very, very difficult now with the bombardment of modern things for young people, cell phones, and Facebook, the different things, all sorts of things that they get with these new electronic devices, influencing them heavily. And we've got to remember that we are outnumbered, generational Caymanians, unlike every country around us.
Yes,
the generational citizens here are outnumbered.
Wow.
It's a very difficult situation to be in. So to try to define our culture anymore is very, very difficult. And this is one of the problems faced by young people.
Yeah.
But what Mr. Ackerman was saying is very true. You know, with education, it's a great thing to have good academic education. But it's a wonderful thing also to have what my cousin Jim Borden used to often say to me, Mick. I went to the greatest school of life because he never went through any university to do it. I know several of them. Very smart people, but smart. And he's the school of life. The school of life. That's a very important school. I've lived and worked in 3 other countries. Not what I visited, lived and worked. That's my home here.
Right.
And I saw that. The school of life, it teaches you a lot how to face issues, what to do. Common sense. It's uncommon now, but common sense. Have a wonderful day. I'll listen on.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Ms. Clinton?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what the last caller just said. We are a melting pot, and that's kind of what we were talking about off air. And the fact that we are such an accommodating culture, we can be passive at times, but the people you see coming in here, they watch their local news from back home. They know what's going on in their countries, whether it be Philippines, Jamaica, Canada. They know what's happening in their country. They are not losing the sense of who they are and the culture, and you shouldn't. Because that's where you're from. You have pride in where you're from, no matter where you go. But I find that even when Caymanians go abroad, they adapt. They adapt to the way of life there, or they just come back, you know? And it's different. I just don't feel that are we checking up on our news services as much? Are we checking in on our local entrepreneurs, our local artists? Because in almost a lot of different countries and cultures, they are actively contributing to their culture every day. There's new music coming out. There are new films coming out. There are things that boost the country as a whole. So when we don't support something as small as not supporting our local singers and rappers and what they're doing, the stories that they're telling that are coming from Cayman, when we don't do that, we are holding ourselves back in a way, because we're not allowing ourselves to progress any further. Because these songs of today could be the classics in 50 years. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I understand exactly what he's saying. And with such a competitive market now everywhere you go, where almost everyone in a working environment has to have some sort of degree, it is very important now to get your education so that you can stand shoulder to shoulder with anybody else in the room, but still having that sense of, I know what my country needs because I'm from there. I feel it. I feel it in a different way than you could never understand. Right. I mean, I moved to New York to study, and I was in Brooklyn. I could not feel the effects of gentrification that my friend from Brooklyn who grew up there felt. She could see the shops changing. Yeah. She could see all these beautiful buildings going up that no one from Brooklyn could afford to live in. She could see that the mom and pop shop that was open since the 70s is now being torn down to make condos. She felt it. She felt it in her bones. And I'm like, oh man, I'm probably contributing to this, being an outsider living here. And I could understand what she was going through. And then a year later, I come back home, and it was a different place. It was the same thing happening for my friend in Brooklyn was happening right here. Yep. So we are not separate from the world anymore. I know we still feel like we're just this tiny place, a little hidden treasure. We are not a hidden treasure anymore with with the access to the internet and everything. People can search best places to vacation. Cayman Islands come up right there. Anymore. Yeah, they're coming in. And I've seen people with wealth that we cannot even imagine, and the things that they would do to keep that wealth. We would say, oh, no one would do that to the environment. Nobody would run people out of their homes. Oh, no one would. Yes, they would. And it's not being negative in the way you're thinking. It's being real and knowing what we're playing against right now.
Right. And how do we harness?
Well, and I think also, so when you say educated, we're talking about educated in so many different ways. So we're talking about being qualified. You just said know what your country needs. So if your country needs, electricians or air conditioning technicians, whatever, what does your country need? Do you know? And so stay, relevant. To be relevant in any situation is that you're constantly, improving yourself. So we can stand and look and see what's happening, but if we're not actively trying to be a part of what's happening, then it will just continue to happen. We can't wait for people's conscience to kick in. And we have to actively be a part of the growth and to keep up. I think that's really, really, really important.
Well, I'm hoping that if your schedule allows, you join us again. We talk about your platform. Is that what we use? Your vision, your mission. Sure. Certainly for your year, Reen. And our guest there, Ms. Susan? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But before we go, I want to say that I want to thank my aunt for bringing some fritters over to my house on Sunday. And the reason I want to say that is because we were talking about how, what on Sundays, what we did, visit people or whatever. Some of those things we're losing. Yeah. Some of those things. Also, I know Miss Jan, who's listening, gave me a big bag of akis. On Facebook, she uses Facebook to show her fruit in her yard. And she says, if you want some, let me know. I let her know. She said, come get them. And I left my house and came back with a big bag of akis. These are simple things, but they're not, they're a part of our culture. Yeah. They're how we keep in touch with each other. They're how we keep, being who we are and help each other along the way. Because that's what, standing and complaining about what's happening, that's sure. We can all stand and complain. But if we're not going to be a part of it, or if we don't see ourselves in the complaint, because sometimes we're complaining about what other people are doing, but what are we doing?
That's right.
Are we really embracing each other? Are we uplifting each other? Or are we a part of the problem?
Yeah. Well, I certainly enjoyed it. I honestly, I think we're not embracing who we are as much as we can, and we should. Certainly not as supportive and nurturing. And I love your positivity, energy. It's obviously where it comes from.
Mhm.
And I'm glad, I have someone as mama to look at sometimes. But honestly, have you join us as you can. Just talk about, what it's like to be Miss Cayman Universe, as it were, but what we can do more, and not to bury heads in the sand and pretend there are no problems, but to be positive and resourceful, to be inviting, and not just, So maybe some final words of...
Absolutely. I know, like what we've been talking about, ignorance is bliss, but only for a short time. Yeah, I do want to see, and we have been noticing, I know a lot of people have been feeling there is an awakening happening in Cayman. There is an energy, a shift in the energy that's happening where we're kind of looking up and we're not recognizing where we are because it's changing so rapidly, and you can't take these things for granted. Look at the technological advances that we've had just in the last 10 years. It's completely different. Even in the medical field, things are just moving at such a fast pace. So we need to keep up so that we can write the story of who Cayman is for ourselves. We need to keep up. So thank you so much for having me on. Mm-hmm. I had an amazing time talking with you and loved having my mother here as well. And if anyone wants to keep up with what I'm doing, follow me on Instagram. It's Caitlin_Tyson. Also on Facebook. I'm very active on Facebook and Instagram. Just search for Caitlin Tyson or my website, CaitlinTyson.com. I have a lot of plans for this year. I definitely want to do more of this, and I plan to do an open forum where we can meet maybe monthly or as much as we need, really, to meet in person, face to face, talk about different issues and come up with solutions. And it might start small at first, but I'm hoping that a lot of people will get up and show up, because that's another thing that is harder and harder. We're on a 22-mile long island. Nothing is but 20 minutes away from each other. We don't have any crazy long commutes. But it seems like an eternity, even going from Georgetown to East End. Someone would be like, no, I'll skip it. Yeah. We really have to realize how blessed we are to have such a small, tight-knit community and take advantage of that, because in numbers you have a lot of power.
And, Caitlin, I want to say thank you for wearing that sash so proudly. And, I always say my children love Cayman so much. They love Cayman more than I love Cayman. And I love Cayman, and if anyone wants to even check out her journey, they can go to MissUniverse.com and check it out. She was all over them people page, everywhere, every chance she got. It was crazy. You can even look at the preliminary content on the pageant on YouTube. Check it out. It's beautiful.
And it was an amazing experience. I mean, it was life-changing. Honestly, I learned so much from being over there. Obviously, I've spoken about this on a few other platforms already. Just the way that the pageant went, it wasn't necessarily a competition. It wasn't necessarily a pageant. It was more of a production, a show. And I, again, having the unique experience of being an actress in the industry and knowing a lot about media and marketing, I understand that it's a money-making machine. And so they already kind of looking for those big-name countries. You could tell from the first week who they were looking at. So what I made sure to do was make Cayman Islands present known. My presence was known, and every time I saw a camera, I said, "What are we doing?" "Oh, you're taking some girls for press. Hi, are we doing press?" Like, I want to speak. I wanted to show Cayman Islands is here. And I ended up on a lot of different blogs and on the Miss Universe page, and I was really happy about that, really proud that I could do that. And again, like, something like that is not easy to do, putting yourself out there. It's a very vulnerable position to be in. And I want to see how many people are willing to take the challenge to make your presence known this year, 2019, and do whatever you want to do.
Well, we love you being so willing, and certainly want to take up your offer to have you join us. And
absolutely.
A real conversation, looking for positive solutions, but sometimes we need to acknowledge that. My friends tell me, you want to repaint your boat, you got to first, scrape it off, sand it, and put it in there. So that's what we got to do, right?
Hard work.
All right.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful, safe, blessed, not this week, not this rain, but in life.
You too. Thank you so much, and to everyone listening, I hope you have a fabulous, productive week. And make sure, if you want to carry on the conversation, to reach out to me on social media. Perfect. Or send me an email. I would love to.
Thank you, Sterling.
Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. I'm going to pause and take a break. Try to get on the good side of Miss Susan again, but when we come back, more talk today.
It's 2019, and you know what they say, new year, new me?
Yeah, Bobo. For me, it's new year, new car.
For real? What you thinking of buying?
The new RAV4 from Ebanks Motors. It's one of the safest compact SUVs out there with enough room inside, which is good for my family and convincing my wife we need this. Plus, it's fuel efficient, fun to drive, and on top of that, it's on sale too.
Yeah, and I hear it's one of the best-selling SUVs on the market.
Cause you don't gotta spend more to do more. That's why I'm gonna get mine now. Why they have a new stock to select from.
Do more in your RAV4. Save thousands on the all-new 2019 RAV4. Test drive yours today and see why the RAV4 is a best-selling SUV in Cayman. Available only at Vamped Motors, Walkers Road.
National Heroes Day is a time to celebrate our history, heritage, and be inspired for the future.
This year, we are honoring the people who pioneered the establishment of our first national symbol, the coat of arms, celebrating our journey to modern-day Cayman, and recognizing organizations who served our community for over 50 years.
The ceremony begins at 9 a.m. on National Heroes Day, Monday, January 28th, at Hero Square in Georgetown, with live entertainment and refreshments following the celebrations.
For more information, contact National Events at gov.ky or call 244-3612.
This National Heroes Day, Monday, January 28th.
Show your national pride
and celebrate Cayman
as we pay tribute to our national heroes.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Hello, I am Noel March, a small business owner in Georgetown for over 20 years. Small businesses depend on government to develop a quality infrastructure and environment that encourages entrepreneurs to create and grow local businesses, resulting in the creation of jobs and prosperity for Caymanians. Small businesses help drive our economy. Just as we have supported building the new airport, we must support the building of the new cargo and cruise port. It will give our tourism industry the opportunity to grow and Caymanian entrepreneurs the chance to shine. Support the port. Support our tourism.
Lucky Slice Pizza.
It's love at first bite.
Shaking your radio 3 to 6 weekdays.
Oh my God. From Radio Cayman Super Jam Showdown.
May I have your attention?
Yo. One love.
Hip hop leader, Jay-Z.
Peace, y'all. This is Nas. Super Jam.
Is proudly sponsored by
Lucky Slice Pizza.
It's love at first bite. Call 949-3456 or visit Cayman Pizza to place your order today. If you are seeking a bachelor's, master's, or doctorate degree, the Ministry of Education is now accepting applications for the 2019 Overseas Scholarships. Give yourself the education you deserve and apply today. All scholarship applications must be submitted by January 31st, 2019. For more information on scholarships and the application process, kindly visit education.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks so much for joining us. And it was truly an honor earlier to have an opportunity to speak with Miss Caitlin Tyson. And now, as I get the sort of instruction and counsel to remain grounded, I got a good company of Mr. Mike Ballman, and we're going to be talking about the ongoing Keswick on until the 18th. And as we look to our guest and the guest speaker, maybe Mr. Ballman, in the role of educator and former headmaster, maybe you help us to set the tone, and as we look at spiritual nurturing and instruction, we get a chance to appreciate that. It's a beautiful land in which we live.
Yes, indeed. It's a long time since I've been a headmaster, actually. Quite a few years.
You probably still got some students worrying about detention.
But in fact, I was actually involved in Keswick even before I took over, at the Cayman Prep School those years ago. And as you might know, Keswick has been around quite a long time. In fact, the very first Cayman Keswick convention we had was way back in, was it 1974, I think. And there were still a few people around who remember we had a very eminent British theologian, preacher, an Anglican by the name of Alec Mateer, and he set a standard for the kind of Bible teaching and preaching that we've tried to ensure as we've kept ever since. Cayman Keswick, as everybody knows, I'm sure those who are listening, it's a time when the churches in Cayman come together once a year, nearly always in the middle of January, to come together. We invite a speaker, a well-known speaker, an eminent speaker, and we come together as churches to worship God together, and under the theme, which is some words of the Apostle Paul, all one in Christ Jesus. So that's sort of the way we started, and that's what we're still doing up to today.
The notion that sometimes, we go to church and we talk about, all sort of being the body of Christ, and we look to the scriptures and we point to the human body as the example. But in practice, sometimes, even amongst the same congregations, just churches worshiping here separately from the other one, there's never that unity. So, guys, it gives us that chance to realize and remember how important it is. As you, if I may ask of you to introduce our guest speaker this time, I listened last evening to the Radio Caymans. I know many who go to the lunchtime sessions, and for them, it's not anything other than the spiritual nourishment, a quick little bite that they get that takes them through the day. Not unlike some who will go to the gym, because that's the only time they can do it. It's a lifestyle. Mr. Bowman?
Yes. Keswick in England goes back to I think it's 1875, and Mother Keswick is in England. So the speakers we have tended to have over the years have been largely, but not entirely, those coming out of the United Kingdom. But this year we have somebody from much closer to home, the person of Pastor Stephen Jennings, who's from Kingston, Jamaica, Baptist pastor at Mona Baptist Church in Kingston. And he's here with us this year, and he's brought along his wife, Dion, and they're actually here in the studio, so you might want to speak to them, because I think people are more interested in them than in what I have to say.
Without question. Pastor Jennings, I was just thinking, we live in, and as the reading Miss came on just showed us, a very, very technologically advanced and savvy time. Yes. And my mother reminds us about the scripture talking about generations being weaker but wiser in a sense. But I must confess that you certainly are wise, because having you're better. My brother says he's better 9/10, not just his better half. Always keeps you grounded. But that's what it is about, being united, in a body, but also within the family. Being having that trust and that center to guide you. But being a pastor, whether in Cayman or whether in any other part, it's challenging.
Yes, it is. One person actually said to us, when I was going into seminary, don't go into the ministry unless you can't help it. Yeah. Because for them, they were saying you have to have a sense of overwhelming call, even compulsion, that this is what you need to do because of the demands of it. Yeah. You're dealing with people who, unlike things, can change very quickly, have needs sometimes that they can't articulate, have stages and phases that they go through, and you're called to be there at significant times. And you're a human being yourself with your own issues.
That's it. You're a motivator as well as an instigator. You're there to counsel, but sometimes you got to kind of chastise these multiple answers. And I'm only thinking not as a pastor by any means, but not even as a parent, but just observing and being on that receiving end at times. And I think maybe it's me, but I put two classes of people perhaps higher than others, pastors and educators, because they're human, not necessarily perfect, but there's a perfection and excellence that we ask, that we demand of them, not just we the people, but we who have been called. Right, Mr. Bowen?
That's right.
Now, Ms. Dion, as you wish, ma'am, only if you wish to join us, certainly by all means. But I think Pastor Jennings, as you shared, the notion that as a people, especially with respect to Our Lady, as a man, there's a great expectation that we have on us, whether you're the politician, whether you're the father at home, or whether you're the pastor. But having that counsel, that grounding, that center, it is maybe what separates the successful, from the not so.
Well, I hope my wife will speak because she has much to say. But I tell you what, no, I think the God who calls people into particular things, being radio hosts, educators, civil servants, gives us the grace to do what He calls us to do. That is to say, there's a special gifting, a special wisdom, a special insight that each one of us has. I could never be a successful car mechanic because I don't have the patience to put that and that together. But I know some people are excellent at that. But they would have a problem doing what I do. They're gifted differently. So we need to respect people's gifts and, work with it. But you're right. I think pastors and other people like that, they have a greater moral expectation. They have to live the message that they speak. Somebody can say something else and not live it, but we can't. We even when we fall short, it must be evident that we are trying. I think that's what makes it hard.
By their fruits ye shall know them.
Absolutely.
Right? And as I look at that, I tell people it's not about pretending to be perfect. It's about aiming for excellence. It's about following the example. And it isn't that you indignant and self-righteous. It's the fact that you're trying to follow a teacher, a master that has set an example that is perfect. Now, we look at our wives, our daughters, our mothers in particular, those women in our lives, and we've seen them, for the most part, not just a grace, but a calling, a service, a sacrifice, an unselfishness. And, we think sometimes, man, it's easy because they make it look easy, but then when we get to walk in their shoes, Ms. Dion, it's not always that easy, huh?
It's not all that easy, but we thank God for grace and the strength that He has given us for the calling that He has for us. It is definitely a sacrificial time in one's life, but what we know is that God gives us that kind of support, and we have people around us to support us as well. And it's important to live a normal life, right? Don't try to be greater than you think you are. Just be the person that God has made you to be, and continue to grow in His image and to be that model for not just the persons in the church, but also for your own children.
And for you, but if I may invite you, not for you to take on any more responsibility, because I'm told I can be a handful, but for your counsel and guidance as well, but to be willing to look in the mirror and hold that person accountable, be comfortable with that person. Now, to my team here, chagrin, I do not, and I probably will never embrace social media. Not only because it's false and pretentious, but it's foolish, in my view, right? But it does not mean that I'm not cognizant of it, not understanding how it's being leveraged to manipulate and to market and to monetize all those things. But something Ms. Dion you shared just then, we look at this thing and we believe that everybody's on vacation, they're partying, they're living large as it were, when probably it's just a filter beyond measure that we can even comprehend. But from the trials and tribulations of Job to the seemingly unwillingness of Jonah to maybe answer his calling, gifting and calling. How do we?
I think that is something that will never be fully answered. We have to wrestle. And part of the Keswick this week is about helping people to be honest, to wrestle with that. As you perhaps know, Sterling, we're doing a series in the nights on the book of Jonah. And we started last night by looking at his refusal to take up his calling.
He refused?
He did. At least at first. And, we're dealing with that. And we're inviting people to come and wrestle with us. It's not, again, you said, not perfection.
Yeah.
Aiming for that excellence that God called you to.
Yeah.
Whether you're a pastor or something else.
Yeah. Respectfully, and please guide us, because I tell people all the time, if you don't take the opportunity to benefit from people who are in your company, then you're missing out on something. And why to go to school if you don't attend classes? Right? I mean, that's, to me, half the battle, if not three quarters. When we come back, let's look at this. Is it the journey to that place in Nineveh that he was looking at and saying, I don't want to go there? It's like some people don't want to come West Bay. We'll have you stay there.
Right.
Or is it that, what are you asking me to do? I mean, there's no way I can shoulder this. I mean, look at who I am.
Okay.
All right. And those that are listening, yes, you get a chance if you missed the lunchtime session to get a little quick insight. Certainly tonight you can listen, but why not be in attendance in person? A person next door that needs a snap may be you. And if you're not in present, how are you going to miss it, right? Stay tuned, please, for Talk Today. When we come back, Pastor Jennings will not only inspire us, motivate and encourage us, but you know what? We may be chastised. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
For years, we have been promised prosperity on the heels of rapid development.
However, last year, over 2,000 Caymanian families
required the services of the Needs Assessment Unit.
Now, we are faced with the largest capital project in our history.
At the risk of destroying what attracts people to our shores.
The government's Destination Performance Report states that annually
1.8 million cruise visitors contributed
$154 million in revenue.
Whereas
450,000 stayover visitors contribute $497 million.
$497 million.
It is time for a national development plan.
It is time for a national development plan.
And better decision making.
That takes into account our human, financial, and ecological resources.
Where we will no longer be driven like a boat without a rudder.
We don't need handouts from cruise lines.
Get your answers. Sign the petition.
Sign the petition. Support the referendum.
Support the referendum.
Support the referendum.
And let's build our future together.
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 Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman. We've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. Headline. These are the biggest stories right now.
A summary court magistrate sentences Kenneth Williams to 9 months in prison for stealing $10,000 worth of equipment from A.L. Thompson's. Williams pled guilty to falsifying credit invoices to make it appear that materials were purchased and then returned when in fact they were never bought. Williams stole the materials over the course of 20 to 30 transactions during 3 years. Williams was sentenced to 12 months in prison. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. Cayman residents are being urged to take all necessary measures to protect themselves and eliminate all breeding places for mosquitoes from around their homes. In the British Virgin Islands, the Chief Environmental Health Officer said they, in response to the dengue alert in the Caribbean region, are assessing its mosquito control programs and increasing its campaign through education, awareness, premises inspections, and various control measures. U.S. President Donald Trump has denied working for Russia, pouring scorn on the latest reports to cast scrutiny on his relationship with Moscow. Addressing reporters at the White House as he left for Louisiana, he said, "I never worked for Russia." He denied a Washington Post report that he had concealed a translation of a meeting with Mr. Putin. And Lady Gaga had an emotional night on Sunday, first giving a tearful speech at a film awards ceremony, but then rushing to be with her beloved horse after discovering it was dying. The night started with the star sharing the Best Actress prize with Glenn Close at the Critics' Choice Awards. But she wrote on Twitter, just after the show, "I learned that my dear angel of a horse, Arabella, is dying." That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
The only bad workout is the one that never happens.
Make 2019 the year you commit to fitness. Let King Sports Center put you on the right track with their Get Fit 2019 sale from December 15th to January 15th. 2-for-1 Powerhouse Gym memberships for $600 or a single membership for $325. And call them to find out how you can take an additional $100 off this sale price. 946-5464 or visit kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, providing your fitness, recreation, and relaxation needs. Remember, fit is not a destination. It is a way of life.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. It is a Monday, and like any day ending in a way, it's a good day, and even better if you're a part of it. 8949-8037 or 1-800-534-TALK. You want to call and share your thoughts. Come on. You know, my friends say Keswick, some say Keswick. Sometimes I switch between the two and never quite sure which, but we'll find out. Mr. Mike Bauer joins us together with our guest speaker for this week's activities, Pastor Stephen Jennings. And it's okay if I say not just your better half, but your better 9/10. His better whole. Ooh, this man is good. It's Dion. Thanks so much for joining us. And as we get into our discussion, maybe Mr. Bauman just quickly remind our listeners that yes, they can hear some of the things we really came on, but to be in present is always better and accounted for. So lunchtimes and in the evenings.
There's something about being part of something rather than just listening. You know, being participating in the singing, the worship, and actually watching the speaker, and you know, you got your Bible open perhaps. That is so much better than listening. But we actually have been grateful. It's been many years that we've had Radio Cayman as broadcast every night, and that has been a tremendous asset because many people, for good reasons, with children or they're housebound, whatever, can't get out, and it's always good if you can. It's better if you can, and I think you just get something more out of it. And then, of course, you meet all the people. I say to people, you know, it's our once a year time we get to meet each other again, and it's sort of remind ourselves, oh yes, you're still around. You meet at Keswick.
Well, here today, gone today sometimes. Huh? So in the evenings at the Cayman Baptist Church.
Yes. All this week, up to Friday at 7 o'clock at Cayman Islands Baptist Church, we remind people that if you're coming from town, it's kind of rush hour to make sure you leave in good time because there's a lot of traffic on the road at that kind of time. And then, of course, as always, we have our lunchtime sessions, and we're at the Family Life Centre at noontime, and we always ensure there's some food, good lunch for a nominal amount of $5 and a 30-minute talk, and people can get back to work by 1 o'clock. It's worked out so that people are not inconvenienced any more than they have to be.
You know, food for sustenance, both for the soul and for the body.
That's right.
Pastor Jennings, you know, there's some of us, and I didn't even want to put myself in that category because I don't think I'm there yet. We read the scriptures and we understand. Many of us who read it and quite sure what was that word, and we're not quite sure. Partly because, well, we're not reading enough of it, and not reading it often enough. So getting a chance to be in your presence and people like you who give us a level of instruction and an encouragement and some nurturing that we can go away and, you know, maybe improved, as it were.
Well, yes, we have that privilege, and in my case, I've had the privilege of really being able to study the Word, the Scriptures for most of my life. Grew up as a pastor's kid, met the Lord early enough in my life, but had the privilege of not only good things like Sunday school and good teachers and preachers in my life, but also seminary training and university training in the Scriptures and in other disciplines. And for many years I have been a teacher myself of the Bible, both at the popular level as well as the academic level. So I have that real privilege of learning the scriptures. But I think the most important thing is learning the person that the scripture is about, and that daily encounter that helps to keep me accountable and keep me upright.
As you share that, if I may ask, some of us believe that we'll have this conversion like Saul on the road to Damascus, or we may have the encounter, we got fishing one day and get swallowed by and spit up somewhere, but we never want the challenges of Job. Now, as a teacher, help us to understand. We understand that God can come to us at any time in any way in order to inspire us and encourage us, nurture us, correct us, chastise, give us the things so that we can move and be better. And it is not a fairy tale or some story that happened long ago. This is right now.
Mm-hmm. I think we have to realize that whether we're Christian, religious or no, life has some good times and some bad times. I think what gives a Christian faith some distinctives include the fact that, one, it helps us to make sense of all of life, not just when life is happy, but when it is sad, not when it is only pleasant but painful. It helps us actually to cognitively make sense of it, because the Jesus that we follow had good times in his life but had some very bad times as well. And he showed us how God could help you to overcome. So that's the other thing. It not only helps us to make sense of it, but gives us the strength and the wisdom to go through all the phases of life for ourselves. And then thirdly, the Christian faith advocates helping us to help others to do the same. So it helps us to make sense, it gives us the strength to go through, and then it teaches us how to share, if I were to use a 3-point sermon.
You see, and this is free. You don't have to have no big marketing campaign. But that's the beauty of it, isn't it? That we live in a world where the God that we know and serve is not just gracious, merciful and the like, but accessible. I can be alone somewhere and present with him, or I can come to seek guidance from another brother, another sister, and get fed. With that, though, I think of the globalization, and I specifically look at Cayman. I don't say this to be disrespectful. Whether there's 100 nationalities or 200 that live amongst us, we all have different perspectives, different histories, different sort of experiences, as it were. And we question, well, what religion, what God are you praying to, what? And
Sterling, you need to come tonight.
You think just tonight?
Yeah, well, you need to come tonight. Tonight I'm actually going to talk about that. Yeah.
I didn't see your notes beforehand, but thanks for sharing.
No. None of them know what I'm preaching tonight either. No, we're going to talk about how that different perspectives that people have that we believe the Most High God respects. Yeah. And yet the distinctive that he wants us to find in Jesus Christ. How do you balance the two? That's what we want to talk about tonight. Because you see, people will come with what they will come with. Not everybody will be a Christian. Not everybody wants to be a Christian. But there's something distinct about the faith that, if properly lived, will make it attractive to others who are not. And that's what we have to work on without imposing our faith on other people. How do we live in a kind of way that we are not ashamed of who we are, we meaning Christians, and that will make it in a way attractive to others? And I think that is part of the challenge that a globalized world does for everybody. Yeah. If you were a no-faith person, a Muslim, a Christian, a Hindu, you'd have that same challenge as well. But Christianity already has a certain kind of built-in answer for it. That was, from the get-go, the issue with Christianity. If you look on the day of Pentecost in Acts chapter 2, people are hearing in different languages and culture groups the same message. Yes. So there's a unity in diversity. And that is really the challenge we have to always to face. And different Christians, by the way, come at it differently.
Yeah. As you were sharing, I was just thinking out loud, and some of my close friends would say, "Oh, be careful! He's thinking out loud. He's thinking one thing, but out loud is even worse." Right? But out of deference to us who are of the Christian faith, we look again just within the Cayman context. We have all of us who worship on the different labels. We're not even going outside the Christian and different churches, and the lack of division, sometimes discord and dissension even within the ranks. The message and the theme being on unity. How do we what do you say? Work on yourself first before you try to correct somebody else. Fix you first.
Well, Mike, I think probably can speak about the Cayman context, because the Keswick is about all one in Christ Jesus, right, Mike?
Yeah. One of the things I was just thinking about is this word tolerance, or its opposite, intolerance, and how people misunderstand what we mean, or what this word really means. It's come to mean something quite different. At one time, if I was intolerant of you, I couldn't stand you, I didn't want to have you around me or anything like that. But today, if I have a difference of opinion as to what you believe, even if I respect you, if I like you, if I, perhaps we can be, in fact, close friends. But in today's world, that idea that, I actually don't agree with something you believe, and you may believe it very firmly, I'm suddenly accused of being intolerant, a bigot, and Christians in particular. Mm-hmm. And whether it's things to do with what we actually believe, if you like, intellectually, or whether it's to do with behaviour, that maybe I disagree. I think that is wrong. To say something like that, people say, you're bigoted, you're intolerant. But I think that's quite wrong, because we respect people regardless of what they believe and even what they do. We need to learn to respect people and reach out to people as Christians and so on. And other people need to look at us and say, because he has a difference of opinion, doesn't mean to say that necessarily he's intolerant or bigoted.
Right. I think that is important. In fact, the New Testament in the original language doesn't use the word tolerant. It uses the word forbearance, which is slightly different. Forbearance is making allowance for other people's differences. People have a right to be different, but how do we make allowance for that difference? And that's and so Mike is right. Tolerance is a weakened version in a way, and yet it also has become a hate crime kind of thing. Whereas that's not what we're talking about. And that's what we're saying. What does it mean to be Christian in a globalized world? Right.
And as I listen to the teacher's evidence, I think partly maybe I love languages, and I love the fact that sometimes we look at translations and misinterpretations and the like, and I believe sometimes where we fail is trying to move one word from one to another, and then, well, the best word is this. I like
lost
when
word in
translation, right? It's watered down sometimes, and I think I say this to my friends all the time. I think back to that day, Jesus in the temple and the way he responds to the guys carrying on. I use the word carrying on. He wasn't there easygoing and say, "Oh, well, behave." No, he was up in arms, and so much so that practice didn't continue after that. Now, with that, as Miss Susan reminds me in the break, I get so enjoyed into the conversation. When we come back, we talk about instruction and guidance. We talk about standing of conviction, being tolerant, accepting, respectful, accommodating, but also not unwilling to say, well, this is right. You may not like it may not be popular, it may not be politically expedient, but it's the right thing to do. How do we stand our ground in this seemingly intolerant, almost incorrigible behavior among some of us? Wow, today gets deep. Stay tuned, please, for Talk Today.
Cayman Keswick 2019 will continue every evening at 7 o'clock until Friday, January 18th at the Cayman Islands Baptist Church in Savannah. The speaker this year is Stephen Jennings from Kingston, Jamaica. Lunchtime sessions are at the Family Life Center on Walkers Road each day from 12 until 12:50 p.m. You can join Radio Cayman each evening at 7 p.m. for a live broadcast from Cayman Keswick 2019. For more information, please visit www.caymankeswick.com. That's Cayman, KESWICK.com.
At At Flow, we know that 4 are better than 1. Introducing Flow Quad Play. Packed with the fastest, most reliable broadband, the power and control of Flow Evo TV, Cayman's best mobile experience, and tons of home phone minutes, all in one convenient package from only $199 a month. With 4 plans to choose from, you're sure to find one that fits your needs. It's value, ease, and convenience all on one bill with Cayman's #1 network. Find out why 4 are better than 1 with Flow Quad Play at discoverflow.ky. Terms and conditions apply.
Tune in Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. Exclusive. Radio Cayman's Super Jam Show, the #1 drive time entertainment show on your radio, featuring Will Sinatra. Enjoy a mix of pop, hip-hop, dancehall, and soca.
The Super Jam Show is fueled by the proud sponsorship of Fitness Plus and Train with Dre.
Get top-rated personal training or build your very own home or office gym today.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Afternoon, welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks for joining us. And as we talk about Cayman Keswick, we're looking at this evening. Hopefully, you'll come out to the Cayman Islands Baptist Church, 7 o'clock. Yes, traffic, even though it's a short distance, maybe 2 minute cars, but that's probably a political statement nonetheless. Be out there, you'll find it very, 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 very much worth your while. Pastor Stephen Jennings is the guest speaker, and honored to have him together with his wonderful wife, Miss Dion, and Mr. Mike Bowerman joins us. Ladies and gents, we do have a caller online. Let's go to the phones. I mean, it could be lunch. I don't know. Someone still have to eat. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sterling.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
Oh, I'm blessed.
Amen, brother. Amen.
I hope you gentlemen are all well.
And we have a lady. We are indeed.
And a lady. They're one, Her and her husband are one. First of all, I want to clarify something. Is it the Calvary Baptist? I think the Calvary is the one in Savannah.
No, sir. Cayman's Baptist Church by Pedro.
Yeah, I think that's the Calvary Baptist Church.
No, sir. Cayman's Baptist Church, Pastor Randy's church on the way to Pedro Castle.
Because the First Baptist I thought was run by Lion Center.
Yes, sir. And it's Cayman Islands Baptist Church in Pedro.
Okay, but to clarify that, because people may be going to the First Baptist.
Yes, sir.
Lion Center.
No, sir. We're not confusing them. It's in Savannah.
No, the public, one part is Savannah, but they say First Baptist.
Yes, sir.
I wasn't sure which.
Right.
Another thing is any transportation provided at these meetings? Because I live all the way in East End.
Okay. Mr. Bowman?
No, we don't. I know individual churches may have arranged for transportation. I know Elmsley, for example, their bus is leaving the Elmsley car park at 6:15. But I don't know about any other transportation unless an individual church has made some arrangements. Of course, the buses do come down from East End to Savannah, so it's a very short distance from the bus stop to the church up towards Pedro Castle.
Which is still costing a $2 bus fare, $4 there back.
Yes, sir.
From the Family Life Center to town. Quite a walk.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, I would like the gentleman. I'm sorry, my memory. The speaker tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to speak to him for a few minutes off air, if he prefers.
All right. Well, what we can do then is just get Miss Susan to take your number, and then we'll see where we go from there. All right. Thanks very much, sir. Thanks very much. Pastor, when we look at it, the callings of a pastor, the demands on one's time and skill sets, as it were. But we all in need of prayer and guidance and nurturing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this evening will allow us to be able to gain much.
Well, we hope so. It's a week-long series, so we say things in bite-sized pieces. We hope. Yes. So we're looking at a number of things. Last night we looked at, as I said, the fact that God called Jonah to do something and he refused and ran away. And tonight we will be looking at, again, the whole matter of how do we affirm our own faith in the midst of a diverse world. And then we have other things through the book tomorrow. And then I should say on the lunch hour side of things, we are focusing on the book of Ruth. And we are calling the series Strange Redeemer. Today we looked at the matter of immigrants, immigration, and individuals, right? How we tend to view people, how we tend to stereotype people, stigmatize people, treat strangers in a certain kind of way, and how God sees it differently, and so on. So what we try to do is to teach the scriptures from a particular perspective that hopefully will be engaging and interesting in relation to current issues that people have. It's not an attempt just to be relevant or trendy or anything like that. It is to say that the Bible itself can speak to our issues by the Spirit of God if we have eyes to see and ears to hear. Just that we are not always accustomed to looking at things in a particular kind of way. Yeah. So I hopefully God is using this week's meetings to bring a fresh perspective.
So there's nothing new under the sun, huh?
Not really.
But that's the thing, you know, when we look at the scriptures, any kind of example, I want to say story, it's there. It's a love story, it's, you know, some murderous betrayal or the other. Nothing that, you know, the biggest blockbuster producer can put on the silver screen can compare. And it's all real.
I think one of the things about Scripture and, of course, about the Christian life is that unless the teaching of Scripture, unless our application is of what I might call rubber meets the road. In other words, it meets the ordinary and on all the ordinary and situations of life. I mean, the Christian faith is not just a personal thing for me, you know, just me and God and so on. Now, of course, there's a side of this, of course, that is important, me and God. I need to cultivate my relationship with God. If I don't cultivate my relationship with God, I'm going to have a lot more trouble working it out in the practical everyday issues of life, whether it's my work, my home, and so on. And, of course, most importantly, because after you love God, you're told that you need to love your neighbour. So, yes, there is that cultivation of relationship. One of the things because I'm a little bit older now, but I feel we miss out on in amongst Christian people today is that discipline that we need with our faith in the first place, with God, in spending time in prayer, in studying and reading the Bible, because without that, that's how we get fed and how we get, as it were, that which we need in order to go out and then live it out. Because the Christian life is 24/7, but it needs, like I need to eat every day to sustain my physical life. I need to, as it were, feed and on spiritual things in order to live out healthily my Christian life. And I think it's something we're missing out on, and it's not emphasized enough, in my estimation.
Pastor Jennings, with that, as Mr. Barber was sharing, is it then that we are not accountability, we're not ensuring that those in position of authority, not just the elected, but those who are knighted in the call, that we ensure there's accountability across, from the pulpit to the pew, and likewise, because we're human, not just in our thoughts, but in our actions, the challenges that we face. And
I think the accountability thing, is important, but there's a self-accountability that I think Mike is trying to get us to. The matter of a self-discipline. That just, you mentioned the gym earlier. It's easy to say, okay, my belly is getting flabby, let me do a few press-ups or swim around the ocean for 20 minutes, and then you never do it again. There's a consistency that is required.
Right.
Day in, day out, the journeyman work, the person who has just to, you might not have all the time, but a 5-10 minutes of focused discipline. I think we live in a soundbite generation. They're talking about about the social media thing. And even then, I've watched kids and others on their phones for hours when it interests them. I think part of what's lacking is a certain interest. And here's where I say, those who are involved in preaching, teaching, and so on need to work harder and learn what's happening, how to engage people. We still are using things that are long dead and gone. When your grandparents were there, they would stay from one part of the island and send a message to somebody, a telegram or so on, and it would get to people eventually. Now we have a cell phone, and we can do that in seconds. The analogy is this. People are still using 19th century techniques of one person standing and delivering a monotone rather than having something engaging, finding what people like, making use of even some of that kind of technology, learning some of that. Not in a way, as I said, just to make it trendy, but to make it engaging, because here's a teacher beside us, and there's the one beside me as well. If the student has not learnt, the teacher has not taught. And we have to work hard at it.
Yeah.
Not saying that you can try your best and a person doesn't want to learn. That's different. But what I'm saying is that if you have not done your best to communicate, and I think it's both ways, and we have to work hard at it.
And perhaps as I listen to, maybe we have been too willing to change the message as opposed to change this delivery in order to reach
and the
methodology of it. And I like the times when we're in quiet prayer and we feel a little kick in the seat of the pants and look around and it's only us there. But we don't want to acknowledge that we needed that. We needed that correction, that counsel. Maybe to change what we're going to do, but maybe to get us moving. You want to get up and get somewhere, but you're not willing to take the step. You want to get healthy, but you don't want to exercise and eat healthy.
And so the teaching is not just the cognitive when we get out material. It's how do you live. My wife talked about being yourself, being a normal human being, wearing jeans and T-shirt, going to the beach, going to the supermarket, going to the mall. That's part of how we teach people how the 24/7 that Mike spoke about works.
Yep.
So they see us not just in pulpits, in jacket and ties, in formal wear, when we're saying these and those, but when we're engaging with a Black Panther makes sense.
Yeah.
Whether the Marvel universe is similar to the universe that Jesus is ruler of, and so on. We have to begin to engage. That's what I mean. We have to do that. But it requires us even more to have a disciplined knowledge of the scripture, a disciplined time of prayer, a disciplined approach to morality, and so on, so that when we're out there, we're less likely to be contaminated and to make rookie mistakes.
Yeah.
Because we have a solid center, to go back to what you were saying at the beginning, from which we are issuing from. If you don't have that, then you'll perish shortly.
I like what you're sharing, and that idea of accountability, so that the people who surround ourselves, recognize that we're flesh, not perfect, but we're able to, draw from the strength of one another. While I'm trusting, prayerfully, that this will be another great week of Keswick, not just as we listen to it on Radio Cayman, because it's accessible, as you mentioned, Mr. Mike, those who are shut in and the like, but to those who are in attendance, always better, Football match on TV is one thing, but being in the stadium, even better. This is even better. Final invitation, Mr. Mike?
Yes, just to remind everybody, in case you haven't been listening from the beginning, that this is our annual Cayman Keswick, and we have Pastor Stephen Jennings with us as a speaker. Lunchtimes, every lunchtime during the week at the Family Life Centre from noon. And the lunch is provided, and then in the evenings at Cayman Islands Baptist Church, which is the Baptist church just before you get to Pedro Castle in Savannah. That starts at 7 o'clock. We even have childcare provided if you want to bring your small children along. And we've had already a tremendous start to the week.
Well, Cayman Baptist, as Pastor Randy reminds us, is a community of love. And thank you very much, Mom. Only if you feel led, if you want to share any closing thoughts, Mom. If not, it's It's up to you. Always believe,
Well, it's good to be here in the Cayman and be worshipping at the Cayman Islands Baptist Church during the Keswick Week. So far, so good, and we want to thank God for the opportunity to hear His Word, and not only to hear it, but to also partake of it and do what it says. So it's also an opportunity for us to sustain ourselves and to develop that relationship we need to have with Him so we can live better lives.
It's always a mission field, Pastor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
I trust you'll enjoy your visit. You'll not only feel the warmth and hospitality, but as people, garner from what you share in the Word, that will come away as a more renewed, strengthened society.
Thank you, and we ask people to pray for us. We are in need of the prayer to do the
prayer
delivery we need.
Us. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
It's a beautiful land in which we live. We take so much of it for granted. And there are those who chastise, there he is again talking about religion. Well, you know what? What better thing than to be able to freely praise and worship. And we're reminded that by grace, not by works, we're saved.
Amen.
Please be in attendance this evening if you can. 7 o'clock at the Cayman Baptist Church, certainly. Be in prayer for all of us in leadership, because it's not always easy.
No.
Until tomorrow, be blessed.
Of the Cayman Islands, Radio Cayman.
We love our listeners. Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.